Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and also our home audience. I'd like to welcome you to the January 9th City Council meeting. Tonight we have 8 items on our agenda. At this time, Mr. Wilson, if you would, please continue with the roll call of members.
Tapman. Here. Kroll.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Kearney.
Here.
Gray.
Here.
Florima. Here. Corcoran.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. At this time, if everybody would, please stand for our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes to the previous meeting have been distributed for review. If we have no corrections, do we have a motion to accept those minutes? Mrs. Corcoran?
The motion.
Seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on that motion, please.
Tapman. Yes. Kroll.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Kearney.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Florima.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And the minutes from the last meeting have been accepted as presented. At this time, we have reports from our committees. Who would like to go? Ms. Patrick?
Thank you. The Transit Utility Committee has one item on tonight's agenda. It's item number 8. It's the first reading of an ordinance accepting and adopting the revised city drug and alcohol testing policy for the Transit Department. This ordinance entails revisions to the existing policy, which are necessary to comply with ODOT's regulations. The revisions include the rewording of invalid results section, addition to and clearer explanation of the test refusal section. Under prohibited substances, they've added morphine and codeine. Legal drugs now addresses prescribed drugs that carry warning labels that state motor skills, judgment, or thinking processes may be impaired. The pre-employment testing section clarifies what the limit is for a positive test. The post-accident testing now spells out what constitutes a non-fatal accident and how to respond. The random testing now details how random testing is to be made. And finally, clearer discipline steps are detailed. Since this is a revised policy, it must be provided to ODOT by January 18th of this year. And at the appropriate time, I will motion to waive the 3-read rule. And that is all I have on that.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Anybody else? Mr. Cole?
The Finance Committee has one item on tonight's agenda so far, which is item number 1, which is a third reading. It is an ordinance to amend and adopt the rules of council for the city of Chillicothe, Ohio. This deals with changing the start time of council meetings from 7:30 to 7. We had met in the past on this. There was discussion that some council members are impacted adversely to change. Others had no opinion one way or the other. So that'll be up for a final reading tonight. The other item we have before us, I need to make a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule, seconded by Mrs. Patrick. Roll call on that motion.
Tapman. Yes. Kroll.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Kearney.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Florima.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And that motion has passed.
This will be an ordinance appropriating $1,559,934.17 for the purpose of continuing and handling of brought forward purchase orders from the year 2016 and other brought forward amounts to be put into the books of the city of Chillicothe for the year ending in December 31st of 2017 and declaring an emergency. This is something we do yearly, and the auditor is going to talk about some of the details of this in her report, but this is money that we will need to, at the appropriate time, consider waiving the 3-read rule for when it comes time for us to do that. That concludes my report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Any other reports? Mr. Florima?
Thank you, President Arnold. Safety Service Committee has one item, that's item number 6. Second reading, appropriating $890 for costs related to updating email exchange for the Law Director's Office. We brought this the last council meeting. There were some questions as to which service was going to be used. Subsequent to that, we had a meeting which was very productive. We had touch points that, in fact, the Law Director's Office has had some glitches and some issues that are necessary for the upgrade. But this also opened it up, which I will support waiving the 3-read rule and having it done because there was an issue today. So I would request support for the passage of such legislation. This also kind of broadened it up because of security and other issues, that there's a possibility that we could expand this for the city, and we should be looking forward towards that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Florima. Anybody else have a committee report? Mr. Tapman?
Thank you, President Arnold. There happens to be 5 left, so I guess I'll take them all.
All ears, okay.
Number 2, it's the appropriation of $14,100 for 2 streetlights in the Stone Bridge area. We've discussed this. This is something that was approved. One was approved back in 2007, but was never allowed any money for. So now we have 2 streetlights at a cost of $14,000. I will let that go another read. Number 3, this is the reason why Mr. Jones is here, the restriction of the vehicle traffic on South Watt Street. I tried to explain what the purpose of the legislation was, and it was basically because the street is narrow in that one section. But we'll let this go another read. Number 4, fire and smoke damper inspections. We did some brief discussion on this. This is something that I don't think we've ever done, have we, Luke?
No.
But it's necessary for the safety of our people in their buildings. And that'll go another read. Number 5, this is the bidding process for work done in the city. This is to kind of weed out the people that don't do good construction work or shoddy work, and also would help hire some local people to do the construction work. Now we're down to number 7. This is the first read. Now this is concerning the bike route the state's proposing all over the state. And this is going to go through the city. Basically, it's going to go on the state routes through the city. So it's going to affect Route 50, 35, 23. But they're going to put signage up, and this will tie into their program for the whole state, and I guess eventually the United States will have a bike path going across the country. This is time sensitive, and we will have to pass this tonight, so at the appropriate time, I will ask the way to review. This has to be back to the state by January 15th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tapman. Any other reports? I think we've covered all of our items on the agenda this evening. At this time, we'll go over to our reports from our officials. Mayor Rufino, you're first up.
Thank you, President Arnold. I think we have at least 4 items tonight that we're looking for the waiver of the 3-read rule on. First off, item 6, I'd support the Law Director's request. And as Councilman Florima mentioned, I think this is a good opportunity for us to step up some much-needed security, not only in the Law Director's office, but for the rest of the city. Secure email mainly is what I'm thinking of, but we have a meeting this Thursday with the IT group that will be helping the Law Director's office, and a committee assignment request on the same topic for the rest of the city will be forthcoming from my office. Likewise, on items 7 and 8, I'd support passage tonight for the reasons stated by Councilman Tapman, Councilwoman Patrick, and of course the financial item that was added tonight, brought forward ordinance is necessary to pay bills due from last year. A few other items of note tonight. Sad to say, but leaf pickup has ended. Everybody knows how excited I was about our process. The process is over, but we still have the machines. So if you happen to live in an area where your leaves did not get picked up, I don't believe such an area exists, but if in fact your leaves did not get picked up, please call the service department. We will be doing Christmas tree pickup through January 20th. The schedule is such that if you decide to set out a tree, please put it in your front yard. It should be picked up on the same day as your trash pickup. If it's not, we'll try to get there within 24 hours. Weather permitting sometimes slows us down a little bit. Speaking of weather, if and when we get snow or ice, we will do our best to stay ahead of it. One side effect of snow or ice and our efforts to stay ahead of it is that many of our drivers are the same drivers that do trash pickup. And so some folks may have noticed within the last few weeks or month, trash getting picked up a little bit later than normal. Because of, we really should have started that right around daylight savings time, but we've moved back trash pickup. The schedule just starts at 7 instead of 6 because it's darker. It's a safety issue. But if there's snow or ice, I think tomorrow morning we're supposed to get some ice. We already have crews ready to put down salt tonight, but that can back up trash pickup. So please be patient with us. We don't anticipate any delays that would last more than a few hours, but if it backs you into the next day, certainly give us a call. This coming Monday, January 16th, is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The city will be happy to support the Women in the NAACP's event at First Baptist Church from 11 to 1 p.m. A meal will be provided, and there will be support from Sojourners Care Network. There will also be a service project to follow. So again, that's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at First Baptist Church with a service project to follow. Finally, some really exciting news. The United States Naval Academy has extended an offer of appointment to Caroline Teal from Unionota High School. She's a senior there. Really want to congratulate her and thank United States Senator Sherrod Brown for his nomination. We're all very proud of Caroline and excited to see what she will accomplish. With that, I'd like to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and I'm looking forward to an exciting and busy year. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor Feeney. Tonight we have another guest. We have our treasurer, Mr. Sibrel, who has joined us this evening for a report. So, Mr. Sibrel.
Thank you, President Arnold. Thank you, Council, for bearing with me here for the next few minutes. Don't see me too often, but folks that don't know me, I am Jeremy Sibrel. I'm the city treasurer. Been at the job for about 3 years and going on the 4th year. Just wanted to provide an annual update underneath the Ohio Revised Code. We are required to come to the first council, first legislative meeting, and provide an update on the status. Probably more important for me to provide that underneath the circumstances of fiscal caution we're faced with right now. So I do have a little bit of an update. I'll go through just a quick background of where we've been and where we're going to go, and then a couple descriptions of what the office that I hold actually does. I think that might be a help for some. It was new to me as well when I got this. Just a little background. When I first started back in 2014, we were about a year and a half behind in our reconciliations for the bank. Took all the way till February of 15 to catch up and stay current with those bank reconciliations. We then stayed current up until about October of 15. Then the mayor He was the auditor at that point. Me and Luke sat down with the state, and we learned from that meeting on that there are some opportunities for us to keep improving. So the state said, hey, we like what you've done so far. That's great, you've turned it around in 3 weeks past the month end. We'd now like you to start doing it in 2 months, or 2 weeks past the month end. So we thought we were kind of on our home stretch maybe to see a clearance off the fiscal caution. However, as we sat in that room that day, a little surprised, I think, you know, we had to then prove to them that not only can we do it 3 weeks after the month, we have to do it 2 weeks. So we was able to successfully do that all the way. Took us about a month to adjust. The auditor's office did a really good job. They had their old system at the time, a lot of manual work, so they did a really good job of adjusting that schedule. The local firm that helps me, White and Signer, also did some staffing adjustments and came through and turned that around in 2 weeks. We were good up until, unfortunately, the time we upgraded the system that Crystal went through. I will say this, she was down a staff member. I think one went on maternity leave. Not only did they have to keep the current operations up and running, but they were also testing the new system as well. Okay, so kudos to them. They kept it going. We have opportunities with the new system, just learning. I had to wait a few weeks for Crystal and her staff to get all the resource availability so they can actually get the system implemented forward. So it took a little while to get some of the reports that we typically would have, and we had to adjust for that as well because the system just didn't come right out of the package, ready to go for what we needed for the treasurer's office. So again, no problems there with getting the reports. I think the unfortunate part, and I didn't realize this, is that the county actually went to the same system a month or two before us. So the resources from that company were very stretched, and so that created a little bit of a gap too. So they dealt with it, did a really good job, had a good working relationship with them. So now it takes us up to this point. We have 2 reports that we're going to reconcile. One is that we have to, and I'll try to keep this in somewhat general layman's terms in a sense. Don't go too accounting on it. But basically, you have to take all the transactions that the auditor's office has received as far as deposits or any checks that they've written, and you've got to reconcile those to the bank. Have they cleared or not? So that's the first step. Then on top of that, you have another report. We call it the cash reconciliation or the fund reconciliation. So what that is basically, and I'll say this in general terms, it's all the leftovers, things that didn't clear the bank. Okay? So we've got to make sure that we balance from the 2 departments, the treasurer's and the auditor's office, make sure those 2 reports, not only did they clear the bank, but did we balance on the things that didn't clear the bank. One of the reasons you want to do that is we want to make sure that we didn't overstate our revenue, for example, for the reporting that you guys did. We want to make sure that maybe, a key error or just a journal entry, something in the accounting world that could cause some issues, or maybe the vice versa happens. Maybe they did the opposite. They had some things where it reduced your revenue, and we're out there scrambling around. Maybe we weren't doing as good as what we thought. So we got to keep that in sync with the 2 offices. So right now, we are, as of today, I actually found some things I'm going to review tomorrow with Crystal and the White and Signer staff for October. So we've reconciled the bank all the way up through November. We're working on December. We should have that done by the end of the week. Okay, so bank reconciliations are done. Everything that should have cleared the bank or could have cleared the bank has been reconciled through November. We're working on December. The cash report, the second report, that's where the opportunity lies. Just because of the transition to the new system, we've had our opportunities there. I will say that, just learning and getting the reports developed. And so we are actually, I think, cleared up for October, and we're going on to November to make sure that we've got everything tied together for the November cash report. I have discussed this with the state along with Crystal. I can say this, when the state calls or writes us an email, we know better. We don't hardly give them 3-4 hours, and we're either calling them or writing an email back. So we're right on top of it. I think that we're on the home stretch. I hate to say that because Luke could probably shake his head because we thought we were on the home stretch before. They keep adding things, right? So it's just like, hey, could you go ahead and do this? Just like from the 3 weeks to the 2 weeks. There's some things that we do from an accounting standpoint, that they're still kind of saying, hey, could you just go ahead and do that on a monthly basis now? Just trying to fine tune some things for us. So we will get caught up for December and January. We're going to continue to go, and the state has agreed that in March or April, they've got some year-end things that they're just busy on with other municipalities. They're going to meet with us somewhere in March or April, take a look, and hopefully things will be positive at that point. We'll be all caught up. Everything's current for them, and we'll have that discussion at that point. Can't say that it's going to be a positive, yeah, we're going to get out of fiscal caution, but at least we're going to have our next meeting somewhere around March or April, and I can come in and give you guys an update, or even the mayor, I'm sure, maybe, we might have to call a special meeting. Hopefully it is good news, and we can get out of the fiscal caution status. And we still have things that we want to do as far as improvements. The new system, I thought it was going to be helpful to my office, but it's actually set up more for what the county's set up to do. So we'll still have to do our external system. Overall, I think it's been pretty good progress with the state. And if you guys ever, great thing the way it's set up now. If you ever need anything as far as questions, concerns, reports, if you can't get a hold of me, you can call it down to Crystal's office as well, White and Signer. They've got everything. Everything's backed up. Everything's off-site to the T. I don't have any issues with you guys calling in directly. So if you just want to confirm what we're saying here tonight. So I will say this: if you guys have any questions, comments, if you don't want to do it tonight, I'm okay with that as well. If you want to wait, we can go to a finance meeting or something, and I can come in and give you more detail. I can send you any reports you want. One thing that as council members, one of those things that I kind of got out of it. I said, okay, so we meet in March. I don't want any surprises in there saying we've got to now do this. So go ahead and tell me what those things are. They didn't say it directly, but what I got from them is you might want to have a 3-year plan. Okay? So I know that's a tough thing to do. I've been on the other side there with the council. One of the things that they require coming out of fiscal watch is at the next level. And then you've got your fiscal emergency. Some of the things they require, and they really haven't finalized all the requirements to get out of fiscal caution, but the other two require you to have a 3-year plan. And so he said, hey, if you can at least have the forecast for the remainder of the year at that time, where you're going to end up, he said that'd be a very positive thing for them to have at that meeting. So again, I know that's a lot of work for you guys, a lot more work for Crystal and Luke to try to predict the future, which is a tough thing to do. But that's one thing to take away from tonight. So, that's all I have. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sybil. Appreciate you coming in. You're welcome here anytime. Okay.
Maybe get a name tag next.
We'll see if I'll get you a plaque. Yes, absolutely. And moving down the table, we have our auditor, Ms. Nagel.
I'm just going to talk about the ordinance that I brought today. It is the appropriation of $1,559,934. That is to carry over monies and POs from 2016 to put on the books in 2017 to cover invoices that are currently outstanding or projects that are in the works. I added to the ordinance a little bit of detail for you since it is such a big dollar amount. You can go through and see, the first one is a carry forward of purchase orders. Those are the purchase orders that are currently open. And then the next page is the money that ties along with the front page. This is, I am in support of passing this ordinance tonight because we do have some invoices that are due with our next pay run. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Nagel. And our law director, moving down the table, Ms. Rutherford.
Thank you, President Arnold. I'd like to speak in support of passing legislation number 6, that's the ordinance for updating our mail exchange program. In our office, we were trying to save costs, and we have to provide discovery to to opposing counsel since we're the state. And that is all the police reports, all the witness statements, photos, videos, anything that goes along with a criminal case has to be provided to defense counsel. So instead of copying those like we've always done, we went to scanning and emailing to try to save costs. And of course, as Newton knows, for their law of motion, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and that was that our server that handles the email exchange couldn't handle all the volume that we were now throwing at it. And that's why we're trying to we're asking for the monies to upgrade it. It puts an incredible strain on that server, and we're trying to extend the use on that as far as we can. We've had 2 little glitches in the email part of our server, so we're hoping to go ahead and get that passed so that we can get that done as quickly as possible so we don't lose the server. Secondly, as mandated by statute, as Jeremy told us, I have to give you my annual report, and I handed that out before the meeting, and for people in the audience, I also put some on the podium. I'll just go through that kind of quickly with you. Obviously, the prosecutor, or the law director's office prosecutes all the cases in municipal court, and last year, in 2016, we closed 3,015 criminal and traffic cases. There's a total of 878 criminal and traffic cases that remain open and will hopefully be closed this year. We also handle all the automatic license suspensions. Those are things that go along with OVI prosecution, and then we had 101 ALS hearings held in 2016. We do that at least once a week in the municipal court. In our criminal diversion program, we had 45 people enter the criminal diversion program. 31 of those people were completed in 2016. 9 people were removed from the diversion program. 16 people applied but were not accepted, and 26 people entered the program and have not completed it as of yet. We have a traffic diversion program as well. 74 people were enrolled in 2016. 70 people completed the traffic diversion program. 4 people were not accepted into the traffic diversion program. 24 people have been accepted and are awaiting completion. 10 people were accepted into the program but failed to attend or removed from the program. Number 5, we give legal opinions to law enforcement and city officials. We gave 65 written legal opinions to law enforcement officers, 36 legal opinions to administration and counsel, and we also gave many unwritten opinions as well. Number 6, our civil and appeals court litigation. 23 cases were defended in pending litigation in 2016. 13 of those cases were closed in 2016. And of the cases defended and closed include 6 municipal court cases that were appealed to the 4th District Court of Appeals. 5 municipal cases filed in the 4th District of Courts were carried over from 2015. And 2 appeals were filed to the Supreme Court of Ohio. Of the appeals court judgments, 5 of those judgments were affirmed, meaning that the court agreed with us. 1 was affirmed in part, and that means the conviction still stands. 0 cases reversed and 5 cases dismissed. We also defended 1 Board of Zoning Appeals case that was filed in the Ross County Court of Common Pleas. We also working on 2 Bureau of Workmen's Comp cases that remain pending litigation in 2016, and we have 1 case that's being litigated in the U.S. District Court. In addition, our public risk insurance carrier, our city liability, represents claims against the city where if we lose, our insurer has to pay, so they always make sure that they are providing some of the legal services since they're on the hook. Just like if you were to be hit by in a car accident, your insurance carrier would provide some of the legal expense. We do work with PERSO lawyers that are appointed for us, and we have 2 cases that have been resolved and 1 case that got returned back to our office. We deal with bankruptcy cases, and so we've received notification of 12 bankruptcy cases where the city is owed some kind of money. We file claims on behalf of the Utilities Department and Income Tax Department when there's any outstanding debt owed. We, last year, of the ordinances that we prepared, 95 were passed and 17 resolutions were passed. But that doesn't reflect the numbers of the ones that were prepared and not passed or were tabled. We assist in the collection of overdue utilities and income tax. Looks like there were 97 small claims and 16 garnishments filed in 2016. The Law Director's Office is still working with the Heroin Partnership Program. We continue to work collaboratively with city and county officials in the fight against heroin addiction. The Law Director's Office worked in conjunction with the Chillicothe Municipal Court to develop an underage alcohol diversion program. And that program, 4 individuals entered the program, and 3 of them completed the program. We are also part of the beginnings of the municipal court, drug court, and we participate in those proceedings at least once a week, and there are 4 individuals currently that are participating in drug court. And that is my annual report, and that's all I have to report on. Thank you, President Arnold.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lester, and thank you for that report. I have just a couple of things to mention. I put a calendar out to everybody, and I understand there's a correction that already needs to be made on it. On that calendar, I have tried to put all the different not committee meetings, but all the different meetings such as Park and Recreation, Tree Commission, DORB, Board of Zoning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nuisance abatement is tomorrow at 2:30, and I've got on the calendar here it being at 4 o'clock, and I don't know when that changed. But I went with all the dates and times that were originally set aside for these various meetings. So change all your calendars on the nuisance abatement to 2:30 through all the months. And if you see anything else that needs corrected on there, please let me know and I'll make the announcement to correct it. But I hope this calendar will help you all. The other thing, we've had a couple of committee assignments that have come out to, and like Mr. Sidrell said, we need some sort of future planning for the city. And early last year, I made a committee assignment for a strategic plan for the city. It didn't seem to go anywhere. We haven't really had any discussion much on it, and but it keeps getting brought up, and we really probably should look at it. So towards the end of the year, I think about a month ago, we got another committee assignment to review our properties, which is somewhat in conjunction with the strategic planning as to what we see that we need to do probably over the next, as Mr. Silver said, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So if you all saw your emails today, I am scheduling to try to give a bus tour for the council members. That will be Saturday, January the 28th. We'll try to wrap it up in 3 hours if we can. Don't know. Talking to Mr. Johnson, he'd like to spend a couple hours with us. So we're going to try to take the nickel tour around the city and look at the properties that we have, just so that everybody knows what we've got. I did that, I know, on my previous term as council president, and I was impressed, and I also was shocked with some of the properties. So I think it's going to be very beneficial to all of us. So I hope everybody can attend. That's really all I have to say. At this point, we move on further to audience participation. We do have a sign-in sheet. I do have one person down here to speak. But if you still want to speak, you're welcome to. We do have a council rule that limits each speaker to 5 minutes on subject, or 5 minutes, and a total of 15 minutes per subject. When you get close to your 5 minutes, I'll kind of wave at you to kind of indicate that you're getting close and you can wrap up the presentation. But if you do want to speak, all we need is your name and address. The person that signed in doesn't have to give us their address because they've already signed in. So I have Mr. Jones. If you'd like, please come up to the microphone.
I read in the paper last night where we had a second reading on an ordinance or something to take truck traffic off of Watt Street and Main Street South, I guess. And we've been on, that's bringing grain, going to the elevator. I've been doing it for 50 years, I guess. And I think as long as we're going to have business on that street, they ought to be allowed to go through there. I don't think that you take the trucks off. We don't have semi, but I heard two different stories tonight. We've got one truck that has to have dual axles on it, and they said, well, that won't be legal. So just, I want to express my concern about that. I think it's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anybody else like to address council this evening? You're more than welcome to. Okay, not seeing anybody. We'll move on to old business. Does anybody have any old business they would like to bring forward? Ms. Patrick.
I just want to give a quick annual report for the Nuisance Abatement Board. I've handed it out to the council members, and very quickly, the board mailed out 432 notices. This is a 32.9% increase over 2015. And of those 432, 28% were owner occupied and 71 were rental properties. 98 properties received a second notice, and 5.5% of those, there were 24 owners, were charged the $250 repeat nuisance service fee. And of the properties charged that fee, 79 were rental and 20% were owner occupied. I just want to stress that all this was accomplished with Officer Pratt working nuisance complaints 2 or 3 afternoons of work a week. That's all he had, because he was doing court in the morning, and he was either doing parking enforcement or training the parking officer that we have now. And he was also filling in on street duty. So from his perspective, he's checked over 800 different properties for nuisance issues. And out of those 800, 743 needed a first and second 10-day notice for him, which turned it over to the board. And this just translates into over 1,400 first and second notices that he sent out. So the only thing I would like to stress is large item pickup. We're going to be doing it as far as I know, and we just need to advertise it and advertise it as quickly as we can, and that helps cut down on some of this. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Anybody else have any old business they'd like to bring forward? Okay. Not seeing any, we move on to petitions and correspondence from our clerk. Mr. Paulson, do you have anything that you'd like to bring forward?
Yes, Mr. President. I distributed to the members of the council a copy of the letter that I received from Attorney Matthew Dooley in reference to a public records request that he submitted to me, requesting all written or electronic communications between employees or representatives of the city of Chillicothe and employees or representatives of the developer constructing the industrial park on River Road in Ross County, Ohio, regarding water service. I have responded to this to let this attorney know that I am the clerk of the legislative body of the city of Chillicothe, and I am unaware of any such records. I do not have custody of any such records, nor in the usual course do I have access to any such records. I did respectfully suggest that he redirect his request to City Utilities Director Richard Johnson, Mayor Feeney, and I also copied our law director on this. But I bring it to council's attention simply because we have had litigation in the past over these types of issues, and if any member of council or committee of council does have involvement with anything like this, or does get involved in communications of this nature, it is incumbent upon you to preserve those communications and to make those available to the law director or to Mr. Johnson and to the mayor so that an appropriate response can be made to a public records request. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Paulson. At this time, we have new business. Does anybody have any new business to bring forward? Okay. Not, yes, I'm sorry.
On Sunday, the January 15th at 4 p.m., the annual Jubilee observance and MLK observance will be held at Quinn Chapel AME at 4 p.m.
Saw that in paper. Okay, thank you. Any other new business? All right, committee assignments and meeting dates. We've had 4 or 5 committee assignments since our last meeting. I'll briefly go over them. To finance, request for legislation to appropriate funds for the purpose of handling purchase orders brought forward. That is what I believe is on our agenda tonight. Request for safety services, legislation to upgrade section 121.03 of the codified ordinances, adjusting the authorized number of dispatchers with the combined police and fire department dispatch operations. Assignment of development, request reassigning funds from the general fund, miscellaneous land bank to the mayor, which we discussed prior to the meeting tonight. Human resources, request for legislation to modify the non-bargaining employees ordinance to provide accrued benefits only required by law, applied only to new hires. And to technology, request for legislation to approve and appropriate the upgrade and consolidation of telephone and internet service for several city departments, which also was discussed prior to the meeting this evening. Meeting dates, as I mentioned, changed the nuisance abatement to 2:30 tomorrow. If the rest of my dates on this calendar are correct, Planning Commission will meet Wednesday the 11th at 4:30. Tree Commission will meet Tuesday the 17th at 5. Parks and Recreation will meet Wednesday the 18th at 5. And the Design Review Board will meet Thursday the 19th at 4:30. And that's all I have between now and our next meeting. That's all I have. At this time, we will move forward to our legislation. So anytime you're ready, Mr. Paulson, item number 1, please.
Third reading of an ordinance amending and adopting rules of council for the city of Chillicothe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Third reading, roll call on that ordinance, please.
Tatman.
Yes.
Kroll.
No.
Patrick.
No.
Neal.
No.
Kearney.
Yes.
Gray.
No.
Florima.
No.
Corcoran.
No.
Clay.
No.
Failed 6 against and 3 in favor.
Okay, that ordinance now is defeated. Item number 2.
Second reading of an ordinance appropriating $14,100 for the placement of 2 street lights on Stone Ridge Drive, accepting $1,500 received from the Reserves Condominium Association for use toward the cost of the street lights, and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
That ordinance will move forward. Item number 3.
Second reading of an ordinance authorizing the restriction of certain vehicles on a section of South Watt Street and placement of permanent signs on Watt and Main Streets within the city of Chillicothe, Ohio. Second reading.
And that ordinance will move forward. Item number 4.
Second reading of an ordinance establishing a fire and smoke damper inspection program for buildings owned and operated by the city of Chillicothe. Second reading.
And that ordinance will move forward. Item number 5.
Second reading of an ordinance relative to competitive bidding for construction work to be let by the city of Chillicothe, Ohio. Second reading.
That ordinance will also move forward. Item number 6.
Second reading of an ordinance appropriating $899 for costs related to updating the email exchange within the law director's office and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Mr. Florima,
Reflecting my report, the endorsement of both the mayor and the law director, I request that we waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on that motion, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
And that motion is passed. Roll call on the ordinance, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 7, please.
First reading of a resolution approving and supporting the designation of bike routes located within the city limits by the Ohio Department of Transportation and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Mr. Tatman?
And at this time, considering the state wants this information back by January the 15th, requesting that we waive the 3-read rule.
A request to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mrs. Gregg. Roll call on that motion, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
The motion is passed. Roll call on the resolution, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And that resolution is passed if you go to the state. Item number 8.
First reading of an ordinance accepting and adopting the revised city drug and alcohol testing policy for the transit department and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Ms. Patrick?
I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Florina. Roll call on that motion, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And the motion to waive is passed. Roll call on the ordinance, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Number 9.
First reading of an ordinance appropriating $1,559,934.17 for the purpose of continuing the handling of brought forward purchase orders from the year 2016 and other brought forward amounts to be put on the books of the city of Chillicothe, Ohio for the year ending December 31, 2017, and declare an emergency. First reading.
Mr. Kroll?
At this time, I would ask that we please waive the 3-read rule so that we can please vote.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mrs. Kearney. Roll call on that motion, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And that motion has passed. Roll call on that ordinance, please.
Tatman,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. If anybody has anything to add, do we have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Florina, seconded by Mr. Clay? Roll call on that motion.
Tatman, Kroll, Patrick,
Yes.
Neal, Kearney,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.